This is the iPhone 12 Pro Max. It has the biggest screen on any iPhone ever and packs several significant camera upgrades that the regular 12 Pro doesn't have. So, let's get big. When Apple announced the iPhone 12 family, it did something with the Pro Max that it hadn't done in years. You see, the iPhone 11 Pro Max and XS Max were just larger versions of the 11 Pro and XS respectively, the same way the iPhone 12 mini is just a smaller iPhone 12. But in 2016, Apple released the iPhone 7 Plus, which wasn't just a larger iPhone 7, but it also had a dual rear camera, which the 7 didn't have. Apple gave you a reason to buy a 7 Plus aside from just wanting a larger screen. And the same could be said of the iPhone 12 Pro Max. And with a starting price of $1,099, you gotta wonder, are those upgrades worth the extra $100? At its core, the iPhone 12 Pro Max, like all the phones in the iPhone 12 family, has a bunch of things going for it, like the new flat-sided design that's reminiscent of the iPhone 5 and iPad Pro. It has support for 5G, an OLED screen with support for HDR, a ceramic shield covering, an A14 Bionic processor, support for Magsafe wireless charging, and it can be submerged in water to a depth of 6 meters for 30 minutes. Now, if you want to go deep on any of those features, make sure you take a look at my iPhone 12 and 12 Pro review. The link is in the description. Spoiler alert, they're outstanding. That said, there are a handful of things that separate the iPhone 12 Pro Max from its iPhone 12 siblings. The most notable? Its size. This is a big boy. If you drop this on someone's head, there's a chance that that person would sustain a serious injury. The 12 Pro Max is just 2 grams heavier than last year's 11 Pro Max, but the flat edges make it feel incredibly solid and well built. This is premium on another level, especially with that matte-edged glass back. The review unit I'm using is gold, and the polished stainless steel sides look like C-3PO on his best day. Defining all of this premium bigness is a 6.7-inch OLED screen, which is larger than last year's 6.5-inch one found on the 11 Pro Max. The new screen makes the 12 Pro Max a sliver taller, which combined with those flat sides gives the behemoth iPhone a tight, robust feel. And the screen? Well, it's excellent. Everything looks rich and vibrant, and there's fantastic contrast. If you want an iPhone with the biggest screen, this is the one to get. But let's flip this chunky boy over. See the big old honkin' camera bump? Here is an SD card next to the camera bump. The camera bump is actually a hair thicker. Now, most people are just gonna put it in a case which will level things out. And I don't wanna complain too much about the camera bump size because it houses the next feature that sets it apart from the rest of the iPhone 12 lineup. And that's a revamped camera system. I've gotten a lot of questions about this and what cameras are the same and different on each phone, so let's see if we can break this down. Okay, all 4 phones have the same ultra-wide angle and selfie cameras. All 4 phones have a new, faster f1.6 aperture lens on their main wide-angle camera. That said, the wide-angle camera on the 12 Pro Max is different, which we'll get into in a second. The 12 Pro and 12 Pro Max also have a nifty Lidar sensor, which helps with autofocus in low light. Last, both the 12 Pro and 12 Pro Max have a third rear camera with a telephoto lens, but the lens on the 12 Pro Max is longer than the one on the 12 Pro. So there you go. Let's go back to the main wide-angle camera on the 12 Pro Max. What makes it different from the other iPhone's 12 is that it has a large sensor, and that, combined with that faster lens, at least according to Apple, an 87% improvement in low light capability. On paper, that's pretty impressive. But here's the other thing about the wide-angle camera. It has sensor-based optical image stabilization instead of the lens-based OIS found on the 12, 12 mini, and 12 Pro. By stabilizing the sensor, you gain the equivalent of one stop of light, which again, on paper, is impressive. The cameras on the iPhone 12 Pro Max seem built around the singular goal of taking outstanding photos and videos in medium and low light situations. Now, for the most part, that's true. The Pro Max does take pretty great photos in low light, but when comparing photos with the regular 12 Pro, the differences don't jump out at you right away. And that's less of a strike against the Max and more of an indication of just how good the regular 12 Pro cameras are. Now, it's worth noting that the extra 0.5 times optical zoom you get on the Pro Max is a welcome addition. We'll be going much more in depth on photos and videos from both phones in an upcoming camera comparison. If you're on the fence between the 12 Pro and the 12 Pro Max, you need to ask yourself if the additional size and heft of the Max is worth the benefits you get in photography. And I'd say for most people, they're probably not. And that's largely because the 12 Pro has an amazing all-round camera system. Okay, look, there's one feature that I was really excited about in the cameras, which is Apple's new ProRAW photo file, which kind of provides the flexibility of a RAW photo file with the smarts of computational photography. Sadly, this feature isn't out yet and won't come out until later this year. Now, powering all of this is the third feature that distinguishes the iPhone 12 Pro Max from the other iPhones 12, and that is a big battery. Now, Apple doesn't say how big the battery is, but in the week I had the phone, it made it through a day and a half, no problem. And over the weekend, it made it all the way through Friday, and by Saturday afternoon at 1:30, it still had 40% left. I was able to run one battery test on it where the phone plays a looped video in airplane mode. Now, Apple's website says that the iPhone 12 Pro Max should last 20 hours doing this. And in my test, it lasted 19 hours and 48 minutes. So yeah, it lines up. Let's talk about iOS 14 and Magsafe. And I promise this will make sense. Like the rest of the iPhone 12 family, the Max can take advantage of Apple's Magsafe charging and accessories. Thanks to some magnets and NFC, the phone can get the most efficient wireless charge when attached to a Magsafe charger. And I'll be honest, it's a blast to use. Even third parties can use Magsafe, and I'm particularly excited about this Magsafe tripod mount coming out from Moment. Now, Apple also makes this really nifty Magsafe Duo charger that can charge a phone and an Apple Watch at the same time. It costs $129. Now, it folds up into a handy travel size, and yes, to me, that seems expensive for a charger. But why stop at cases and chargers? What if you could do this? Now, if your heart skipped a beat seeing this Apple Pencil connect to an iPhone 12 Pro Max, then you know where I'm going with this. If there was ever a phone to use an Apple Pencil on, it's this phone. But sadly, it doesn't work. And that brings me to my last point, which is Apple can do more to take advantage of this 6.7-inch screen. I mean, there's iPad OS that optimizes iOS for the larger screens of the iPad lineup. What about an iOS Max that allows me to use some of that iPad software and features like split view on a 12 Pro Max? Or what about supporting an Apple Pencil? Look, an iOS designed to take advantage of the iPhone 12 Pro Max's screen would be another benefit that sets this apart from the other iPhones Apple sells. When all is said and done, I do think the iPhone 12 Pro Max is worth an extra $100, especially compared to the 12 Pro. But you have to decide if that's worth it to you. Do you want a larger screen? Do you want a longer battery life? Do you want that heft? Do you want these cameras? Well, what's the price? And is it worth it to you? That's what you have to decide. And now I want to hear from you guys. What do you think of the iPhone 12 Pro Max? Are you considering upgrading to it? Do you think it's worth upgrading for the cameras from the 11 Pro Max? Throw your thoughts in the comments.